Well, it was a confirmation that the institution of Parliament is no longer appreciated and respected. It came to my mind that the leadership of Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament, has ceded her constitutional powers and independence. She has turned the House into the house of submissiveness, and for whatever reasons, valid or not, that was like a final nail or coffin on the reputation of the 11th Parliament. I don't think presiding over an institution which does not respect the rules that are written down, an institution that is led by people who believe in impunity, in the raw exercise of their power and their might, an institution which does not allow for conversation or dialogue, because Parliament is the highest forum available for Ugandans to have discussions and come to a conclusion. So I really felt that every Parliament has its lowest point, but yesterday was the lowest for the 11th Parliament, and I think it will go down in our history that records that were written in the past, now we have a new national record held by the Right Honourable Speaker by what she did yesterday.
Were the proceedings driven by emotions, and if yes, how best would these emotions be controlled?
This House is constituted by different political parties, different members of Parliament. The issues that come to this Parliament can raise the emotions, and as correctly as such people are expected to have their emotions high. The presiding officer must have the courage, must have the experience, must have the calmness to navigate, to steer the House in a way that should not escalate to where it is. And that means that you need to be patient. That means you need to be tolerant. That means you need to be humble. And some occasions, cede certain grounds. For example, if people still want to speak, just allow them to speak. And that is it, because tensions can come when you deny somebody the opportunity to speak. If you see a member has insisted and they want to speak, first of all, there could be something very important that the person is going to bring. But even if they speak things that are not important, you have the final say to say, no, my ruling is that your submission is not relevant to the subject matter. So we go back to the subject matter. It is a special skill that by virtue of that office you must have and you must exercise. I thought if we were a little patient with the processes yesterday, if we were very accommodative and we didn't want to show that we are in charge in a very raw manner, the events of yesterday would not happen. Even the invasion, there was no justification at all for the commandos to come and invade Parliament at that moment. In our rules of procedure, when the Speaker suspends the House, which suspension can be for different reasons, the MPs are supposed to remain inside the chambers and wait for the return. Sometimes houses are just suspended. In 3 minutes, the Speaker comes back because maybe he wants to take an urgent phone call from wherever. You do that. So the MPs remain seated, and for us, we remain seated there. How do you then invite strangers with guns to come and start kicking around members of Parliament? I was not named. The leader of the opposition was not named. But the SFC guys kept kicking our legs on their way. Provocation. I don't know what they wanted us to do. We were properly seated. We were not raising our hands. But every time they moved, they kicked our legs.
So you were among the people who sat near Honorable ZAAKE, where the ZAAKE was, and you were also affected in the fight. First of all, how many punches did you receive? Because I saw you also trying to throw some blows.
No, I was not punched. I think ZAAKE's, the sitting posture of ZAAKE helped me to survive. If ZAAKE had dodged any of those punches from a call, then it was going to land on my head. So it happened that ZAAKE's head became my my protection, although I sympathize with the heavy blows. And as you saw, when a call wanted to land the sixth, I think, blow, I had to intervene to stop him. It happened spontaneously, very fast. The 5 blows that he gave to ZAAKE's head was very fast, but I immediately realized the danger, and I tried to intercede. And in that fracas, the only thing that happened is that my glasses dropped down, so I had to pick it, but I was not boxed. Yes.
Okay. The speaker, during her conclusion after the bill was passed, she said she will not be intimidated. Where do you think this statement arose from?
The speaker has a huge log in her eyes. The comments that she made, whether she rubbishes them, the comments that she made, which was very unfortunate, when she mentioned that those Baganda, something like that, is something she will not wish away. It will remain on her head. It will remain with her until she finds a decent way of addressing it. And the most decent way of addressing it is not by denial. She will not be the Speaker of Parliament for her entire life. That one, I am sure. At some point, she will lose all that power, that raw power that you see, having the military, having soldiers, having money, having this. It will all go away, and she will have to come back and live with society. You cannot carry that baggage with you. We can all make mistakes, but we must own up the mistakes and then address them. And the remedies are available. If she consults, there are better ways that that matter can be handled. So she was directing it, I think, towards the Buganda Parliamentary Caucus, who had said she needed to apologize. If not, they would probably put in the second gear. I think that confrontational nature was not necessary because she was caught on camera. It is not something that somebody is wishing away or is importing. It's not a social media rumors, as people say it. It was caught on camera.
So, Honorable, in Parliament we had a fight over the passing of the age limit. The age limit debate, remember that debate. Then right now, yesterday, there was a similar fight. How can this be disciplined? We've seen members who act contrary being sent to disciplinary committees.
First of all, the difference between the fight over the age limit and the coffee bill is that the fight in the yesterday was one member to member, which had nothing to do with the bill itself. It was a disagreement over the seats, who should take up the seat. That is the whole saga about the Honorable Akola and ZAAKE. The scuffles that happens in Parliament, they are not unusual. And they call them scuffles because it's about shelving each other rather than criminal fight. What happened between ZAAKE and Akola is criminal. And that one you cannot compare it with the usual scuffles or shelving that happens in Parliament, that even after coming out, you greet each other and you reflect about it. So I think to resolve the one between ZAAKE, that one the courts of law will have to deal with it at some point, or they will have to reconcile. The first advice for me is for Honorable Akola to reach Honorable ZAAKE, seek forgiveness, support him to get rehabilitated, and they have an out-of-court settlement. But the ones that have been sent away on disciplinary grounds, I think there was no incident that I recall outside Akola and ZAAKE that warranted that suspension. It was just the fear from the speaker that the numbers this side are probably going to be many. She didn't want the votes to be on record, and decided to reduce the number of opposition, even when she knew very well that the opposition already have fewer members in the House. But because there was a possibility that some NRA members would vote with us, there was a chance that if the voting was open and transparent, we would actually defeat the coffee bill. And in that case, we would respect it. When we went to the second reading last time, and there was division in the House, you saw how our side conceded. Because it was transparent, there were many 140 against our 72, and we said this is okay. But once you declare results, you alter results. That is something else that cannot be allowed to happen in the
If
House.
something is done in bad faith, normally the results do not come out positive. So should we expect this bill which was passed, if it was passed in bad faith?
Where do you get that superstition? Because you are now being superstitious. But I think the argument around the coffee was that there was need for debate to take place and a middle ground be brokered. The people who are against had valid reasons and they wanted the executive to address them. The people who are moving the bill also had valid reasons, so all we needed was to get the middle ground and make sure that each and everyone is accommodated. Because the MPs who represent coffee farmers had a duty to convey the minds of the coffee farmers on record because they are the representatives of the coffee farmers. If we had chosen to invite the coffee farmers to come and debate here rather than ourselves, I don't think even the speaker would sit there. They have very valid reasons. So how do you then stop a representative of a stakeholder from debating? That's the first mistake we made. Even in the age limit, there was no sufficient accommodation to the divergent views. Now, when you see that the state machinery is resorting to violence, like they did yesterday, it means they had lost the intellectual debate. It means even the people who are inside the House did not have the mental capacity to respond to the issues being raised. Otherwise, if you allow debate, there is a possibility that the opposition and people who are against could get convinced by their level of reasoning, or on our side, we would convince them to come with us. That's why we come to Parliament to debate. And you have seen that in some cases where there is sufficient debate and concessions, the bills have been passed in good faith and will receive a lot of support for implementation.
The issue of scrapping now totally, even the 3-year transition period. Remember, this was debated in the committee report, presented. They even had went through the second reading. Now on committee stage, we are having a similar decision.
That goes back. The 3 years, from what I understood, was a negotiation. Originally, it was not in the bill. And then there were valid questions asked. Is the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries ready? And with the technical people, the structures to implement the bill and take over the role of UCDA? The answer was no. So how long do you need to prepare to put in that structure? And then they arrived at 3 years. So now when you take away the 3 years, well aware that the capacity is not there, you can just think that you are fooling yourself. The movers are actually fooling themselves because they will not be able to do anything without that structure.
Okay. Finally, in your own view, how do you rate the independence of Parliament?
This Parliament lost its although the institution of Parliament is still very important. I want you to separate that. That we cannot wish away Parliament to be scrapped or to be removed because it is still very important for a young democracy to have institutions functioning well. As to whether we are doing the right thing, I think I agree with you and the public sentiment that 90% of what we do are actually not the right way we are supposed to do them. I still have hope that one day Parliament will rediscover its mandate. Parliament will not be used as a money laundering, a place where people steal, a place where people enrich themselves. Parliament will not be seen like a business. You know, as an MP, I come because I know there's a lot of money in Parliament.
Like a one-stop center.
Yes, it shouldn't be that. I still believe that one day we shall have a Parliament where people understand exactly what they are supposed to do. People who want to get rich will go and do business, will go into manufacturing and do other things. And then people who have the country in their hearts will come and legislate and budget and respond to the issues that people have in the health sector, in the infrastructure programs like roads, railways, education, agriculture, etc. I believe that is when Parliament will be said to be independent and responsive to the challenges that we have in this country.
Thank you very much.
Well, yesterday's attack was not attack on members of parliament. It was an attack on the institution of parliament. And so we should be talking about whether we still have a strong parliament or not, on whether there is any independence still remaining in the institution of parliament, because it looks now that whatever the executive wants, whether the members of parliament want it or not, whether Ugandans want it or not, as long as the executive wants it, as long as the president wants it, will go through parliament. So parliament now becomes a clearing house. Parliament now is for formality, because for a president to say it is going to be a showdown, it means he must get his way through. And that's not how parliaments are supposed to operate. A parliament is a place for debate, intellectual debate. So if we disagree with the president, it is okay. If we disagree with the executive, it is okay. So you don't force your way. So what happened yesterday was to say there is nothing like failing to agree with the president. There's nothing like failing to take the position of the executive. Whatever they want, we'll have to go through. For me, that is not the parliament I expect to see in the 21st century. It was a shame that yesterday we had some bills passed on gunpoint. You know, that you allow unidentified security to enter the chambers and pick out members of parliament in a dehumanizing manner is really, to say the least, below standards expected of any independent country in the world.
So how do the rules guard you in such a situation?
Well, but you see, how do rules guard you? You cannot talk about law in a country of lawlessness. You cannot talk about rules in a country of lawlessness. So who is going to protect you? Because this, once the parliament is attacked, is under attack. Once the institution is under attack, it means everybody is under attack, including the speaker. So you could clearly see yesterday that the speaker was not in charge. The speaker was also attacked. The speaker had to also find her way out. They will tell you, if you talk to some of the security people here, they say it was beyond us. It was beyond the speaker, it was beyond the sergeant at arms, it was beyond the security at parliament, it was SFC in charge. So at the end of the day, you see yourself, the journalists, we are taken away. And speaking to the parliamentary leadership, they are telling you, forgive us. It was also beyond us. It is not about us. So you cannot talk about rules, you cannot talk about the law in a country, in a society of lawlessness. You can't do that.
So how would you regain reputation? We have a few years to the end of this term.
Well, I think we need to get back the drawing board as members of parliament and be clear to ourselves on whether we want this institution to remain a parliament of the Republic of Uganda, an independent one at that, or whether we have handed over completely this institution to the executive and now we are an appendage of the executive. Because if you cannot have free debate, if you cannot have an environment where Ugandans see you pass bills through the media, if you can have members of parliament be picked in the chambers, because you see, nobody is supposed to be picked in the precincts of parliament, not just the chambers. Anywhere in parliament, nobody, whether it's just a person from outside parliament, as long as they enter parliament, you cannot pick them from parliament. But now that you pick members of parliament, not just from the building, but in the chambers, then that tells you that this parliament has been attacked. It has, the leadership is also under attack. The members of parliament are under attack. And so somebody else is in charge. We are not in charge of our own institution. And so we need to get to a drawing board and agree on how we want to move forward. Do we want to hand over this parliament to the executive? because now it is the executive checking parliament. Yet it is supposed to be parliament checking the executive. And so that must be answered going forward, that we need to get back to the drawing board and agree on whether we still want to be parliament or on whether this is now part of the executive. Otherwise, if we don't answer those questions, we shall continue to be taken for granted and we'll be doing nothing here other than rubber stamping for the executive.
Okay. How best can we avoid future occurrences of such a situation?
I'm Romlicha Iva, undergraduate member of parliament from Toroko County in Toroko District. And I'm an independent member of parliament, but NRM leaning. Being an independent member is just because of our bad primaries. But I'm NRM. First of all, I would like to thank the Right Honourable Speaker for having protected the integrity of Parliament. And it's really regrettable to see how some of our colleagues behave. As a honourable member, you must keep decorum and respect for each other. Despite the fact that we may disagree on ideology and other issues that touches our country, but we shouldn't go to that extreme side, the extreme end of physical fighting, for sure. And I want to thank really the Speaker. I want to salute her. She did whatever she did to ensure that decorum and sanity prevails in our parliament. And for me, I think as members of parliament, we should have deeper thinking, self-reflection on what is expected of us. Despite the fact that we disagree, as I've said, it shouldn't go physical. And respect for each other is also very important. So yesterday you would see Honorable Akol taking, because first of all, nobody owns a seat in that house. And it was free sitting declared by the Speaker. So if you've gone to speak and I find that chair vacant and I sit on it, really there is no need of you coming to forcing me out of the seat. And even if you are to tell me, you should humbly tell me. But you see how my young brother, because I beat him in age, ZAAKE, the way he was not even pushing, throwing a whole honorable colleague and a senior colleague like Akol, Honorable Akol, that wasn't called for. And indeed, Akol also, he wouldn't contain all that embarrassment, and he ended up going physical, which is regrettable. But the cause was Honorable ZAAKE, which was not good. So some of us, we went in now, because the fighting started where our Right Honourable Speaker sits. So me, I usually don't want to take a back seat when things are going wrong. At the end of the day, you regret, because anything would happen. You know, within a minute, a person can turn to do something else. So I had to rush very fast to ensure that our Speaker is safe and containing the situation, than sitting there waiting for blows and all. Anything can happen in that house. We saw what happened before. So I was ready to go there and make sure that we contained the situation. I thank God that our Speaker was safe, our seat was secured, and the situation did not really deteriorate to a physical fighting of all the members, because people were taking sides now.
So, Honorable, looking at what raised the tempers and emotions, there are a section of people who say that the Parliament was under attack. It wasn't, the Speaker was not in control. What is yours?
For me, I think that's falsehood. First of all, the Speaker, she was in charge of Parliament because she was chairing and the proceedings were going on well. But the problem was some of our colleagues who were indisciplined. That one I still have to emphasize it. Because you cannot become unruly. When they tell you sit down, you can't sit, you are shouting, and you're an honorable member. So for me, I really think that the Speaker, she was doing what she was doing to ensure that there is sanity, and the business of Parliament continues. And indeed, this is what happened yesterday. So whoever says that she wasn't in charge, I think that was just, you can respect someone's opinion, but I think personally, it doesn't add value. I think she was right. She was doing whatever she was doing to make sure that the business. So because we have a business, we have a duty. So when the duty calls, you must do whatever it takes to ensure that things are in line. So for me, I think I really totally disagree.
So finally, how should the public understand when a policy of government should be supported wholeheartedly, even if there are disagreements?
Sorry?
How should the public understand that a government policy of, for example, rationalization has to be supported?
First of all, what I want to think, electorates elect us as members to represent them. We form part of government because we are part of government. And whatever we are doing as government, we are doing it for the good of our people. So what spoils things when people bring in propaganda, paint a picture that whatever we are doing is not for the good, for the people. But the fact is that people should have trust in their leaders. Like whatever I'm doing now, it should be good for people of my place in Toroko and Uganda at large. So our people should have trust in their leaders, have trust in our system, NRM government, and with Excellency, the visionary leader of Excellency, the President, and you will see results. I want to tell you. And this merger has come and it has gone. Only that I also want to emphasize that there should be results, so that there are reasons why we merged these agencies.